All right, welcome to today's video. Yesterday we did a lot of reflecting, and in our cool down we did some translating. Today's lessons is just really focused on rotating. So we're going to be using some of our strategies from Tuesday and Wednesday, where we looked at tracing our shapes and then finding that center, and then rotating our paper based upon the directions that were given to you. So today I'm going to kind of break it apart, where we'll do one at a time. I'll give you some strategies and some tips. I will give you some time to complete it yourself, and then I will reveal the answer so that way you can check your work. So if we look at our first problem, number 1, I want to make sure that I know what I have to do. So I see that I am rotating the line segment AB 90 degrees, so one corner turn, counterclockwise around center B. So remember, rotations have 3 important things: the degrees, the direction, and the center. When we're finished, we're going to label the image A as C. So we're going to figure out the new image when we rotate it, but instead of writing A, they want us to write C. So first things first, let's go ahead and together trace our shape. You can go ahead and do this now with me. Marking A, so I remember what to label as C later. I'm also going to mark a dot at B, and I'm going to trace our line. Now I'm remembering that I could trace over the line on the back, so that way it'll leave an impression when I'm done rotating it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it back over, and I'm remembering that my center is going to be at B. So I'm going to make that dot a little bit obnoxiously large. Now on Tuesday and Wednesday, we needed to make guidelines to help us to know how much to turn. So since we're on a coordinate grid, I'm going to outline one square. Remember, you could, if you wanted to, make a full plus sign or 4 corners, but that is up to you. So I'm going to get you just started here. Put your pencil tip on B. If we're going counterclockwise, we're going to the left. So right now I'm going to pause you on this video, and I want you to figure out where this line segment should be. All right, if we continue to rotate, by now you are checking your work. I am stopping when I have lined up the new square, or 90 degrees. So if I go ahead and trace over my line, I should have an impression that I left. Perfect. I'm going to trace over my, so I left 2 lines accidentally. I'm going to trace over my line in orange so it's nice and bright for you. It said I could leave B, but instead of A, it wants me to write C. If your line does not look like that, think to yourself, what went wrong and how can I fix it? Let's go ahead and look at number 2. If you need to pause and fix number 1, now would be the perfect time to do that. Number 2, we are rotating this segment again. Still 90 degrees, so one corner turn. And we're still going counterclockwise, but our center, or our sun, has changed. This time we are going to rotate around A. Looks like it wants us to label the image. Instead of writing the letter B, we are going to write D. So I won't really be able to reuse this line unless I wanted to ignore that B, because I'm rotating on A now. So I am gonna give us a fresh start here. So if you're giving yourself a fresh start, we're gonna retrace our line, A to B, but this time I'm making A the center. I'm gonna make one corner because that's how many degrees I'm turning, 90 degrees. I'm going counterclockwise, so put your pencil tip on, and now you rotate this line segment 90 degrees counterclockwise. I will pause the video and try that now. Welcome back. Your rotation should have taken you 90 degrees or one square turn. So I'm going counterclockwise, turning. Whoopsies, sorry, my paper slid. I'm gonna try that again. Turning here, one corner turn. I'm gonna stop there. I stopped there because now I lined up with the next square. I forgot to trace over my line on the other side, but I can see that B is at 1, 7. I will do this line in pink. A, 2, instead of B, it wants me to write D. So go ahead and check now that this line segment is coming out from A, and D should be at 1, 7. If you need to fix it, again, think about what went wrong and how can I learn from that. Let's go ahead and look at segment or problem number 3. We are again rotating segment A, B, 90 degrees again. Ooh, this time we are switching directions. Let's read that carefully. We are going clockwise, but our rotation this time is around 0, 0. This is called the origin. The origin is 0, 0. Then we're gonna label that line, instead of A, we're gonna label it E. And instead of B, we're gonna label it F. So it's very important that on our tracing paper, we label that so we can keep it straight. I'm gonna give us another fresh start. This is our last rotation because number 4 is a reflection. So let's make this one really good. We've got A to B, but I'm not gonna put a big circle around those because those are not my center. My center this time is the origin, which is at 0, 0. So if your tracing paper wasn't able to cover that, you'll have to move it over a little bit. So around my origin, I'm gonna put my square so I know when to stop after one turn. I'm gonna put my pencil tip on there, and you are going to give your best effort to turn and rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. I'll pause the video and try that now. Welcome back again. If we go ahead and look, we are going to rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm rotating until I have one corner turn. There we go. So I see here that the new A spot is at 3, 0. And my new B spot is at 2, -4. I'm going to just carefully slide this over because I want to remember what I need to label it. So instead of A, it wants me to write E. And instead of B, it wants me to write F. I'm gonna go ahead and trace this line in blue. And now carefully check your work. It looks like we have two parallel lines that we have accidentally created. So this one's a little different. You'll notice that because we rotated around the origin, it's not touching the original line. All right, our last question before we get to our practice work is a reflection. So I want you to compare. Look at the two 90-degree counterclockwise rotations. So we are looking at number 1 and number 2. So in my examples, we're looking at our orange line and our pink line. What is the same and what is different? Right now, write at least one thing that is the same and one thing that is different. Your answers will vary for this one. Here's an example of something that is the same and something that is different. They are both in different locations on the grid. This one is to the right, this one is to the left. They both move different distances with the different rotations, so we can tell that they are in a different spot. Something that is the same, they are both touching the pre-image. So those are a couple examples. You might have other answers that vary. The point of this problem is it's wanting you to reflect and think about the different types of rotations and how even though we went the same direction, because we started at a different center, our lines ended up in a completely different spot. So it's important to remember that the center, whether it was A or B, was a really important part of this transformation. All right, for your practice problems today, you've got a couple rotations to look at. Here are your practice problems today. This is when Mrs. Stee needs to see your hand in the air so that way she can bring it to you. It is on the back of this cool down here. I will tell you not to complete this cool down today. We are going to ignore it. So you can cross this one off for today. So looking at the back, you are looking at these three letters, G, H, and I, and you are rotating them 90 degrees clockwise, but your center is going to be at 0, 0, the origin. For problem number 2, we have, it looks like we are starting at A. So this is our pre-image, and we are doing a sequence of transformations that are bringing this shape to this shape. If it's a sequence, it has to be more than one transformation. So you could tell me step 1, what did it do? Step 2, what did it do? You have to have at least 2 steps. A sequence has multiple things. Do your best to try to use the math vocabulary that we've been using. When you finish this worksheet, go ahead and turn it in the hand-in tray. Thank you so much for listening.